I'm talking about how to confidently answer IELTS reading questions. Okay, so I'm going to tell you general tips on how to understand IELTS questions, and then we'll look at practice sections together, and you can ask me questions as we go. Well, so let's continue. All right, so just a bit of introduction. This is me on the left side. Okay, IELTS Review Hub is something I do just as my great contribution to the IELTS community. I passed my IELTS 2 years ago, and I believe I'm a great teacher, and I believe that IELTS should not limit people from achieving their dream. So I also teach IELTS at a professional level at this Unified IELTS Academy. So I'm a partner there. So once you see IELTS Review Hub or Peter Lubayo or Unified IELTS Academy, it's still the same thing, okay? All right. So this is what I'm going to be teaching you today, okay? So we'll start with the state of things. What the performance globally on IELTS reading as projected or reported by the organizers, which are British Council or IDP, okay? So, I'm going to talk about the state of things. I would like to turn off this camera so it doesn't, let me do that right away. So it doesn't obscure some things. So let me do that. All right, beautiful. So after talking about the state of things, I'll move on to the 3 basic skills you need in order to understand and always get your IELTS. You are getting your band score, whether you need band 7, you need or above, you can always get it with these 3 basic skills. So I'll go to understanding the question types. I'll talk about the question types, and based on the feedbacks I received, you want me to talk about matching headings, paragraph information, true false not given, MCQ. So, but we'll see as it goes because I'm also working tonight. All right. So this is the state of things. It's looking worrisome. It's not good at all. So if you are joining me from Bangladesh, so reading academic, I'm only projected academic. General training is just a little bit some points above this, okay? So overall, people are scoring 6.2 in Bangladesh, but then in reading, they are scoring 6.0. Look at India, 5.9, Kuwait, 5.2, Nigeria, 6.5, Pakistan, 6.1. So, and a lot of people who want to use the result for either traveling abroad, yeah, their home might not be as high as band 7, but a lot of people who really professionals want to travel out will need band 7 and above. And you agree with me that this is far from it. This is obtained from the website, and this is as at 2019. Okay, so what the candidates have told me, I believe that a lot of people book IELTS without being ready for that test. So yesterday we talked about that. You might want to look at what we talked about yesterday. 7 things you need to consider before you book your IELTS test. So a lot of people do not understand the questions. People talk about time management, but you remember yesterday also I talked about that time is not your biggest enemy, something else is. Okay, so you need to look back on that video so as not to take my time. Some particular question types, a lot of people, just like you have mentioned some particular question types, people are confused along the way and they lose concentration also along the way. So these are the basic skills you need in order to ace IELTS. So if you look at it, you can see on the surface, okay, you have the reading techniques. That is what people usually talk about on YouTube. They talk about skimming and scanning, but it goes beyond you being able to understand IELTS questions and acing IELTS. I mean, getting the band score that you need. You need more than skimming and scanning and being able to quickly read the question. So just so you are aware, skimming is your ability to just get a full No, let me a general understanding of a text. So it's not specific. You are not looking for any specific information. And as we go ahead today, I will tell you that your title alone is enough to do that for you. Okay. Now, and then scanning is you are looking for specific information. All right. So you are scanning for specific information. So I will still talk about them as we go. So scanning, I advise that you scan only, I'm careful here, only for dates, okay, names of person, animal, place of or things, yeah, or date or numbers, okay, because these are things that cannot be paraphrased, but other things, other words can be paraphrased, okay. So take for instance, let's say I have scheduled uh, webinar. So that's what we have in the text. That's what, if you are looking for schedule, it might have changed, it might be organized. Okay. So and it would be a sheer waste of time looking for such words. All right, moving on to reading strategies. Reading strategies, what I mean here, you can see it follows after that iceberg. Okay. That is the next thing you get just below the surface. So these are the tips and tricks that people talk about. So you wonder why, despite watching a lot of videos on tips and tricks, yes, they improve your score a bit, but they don't give you what you want. Now, the last thing is at the bottom, very deep in that ocean, is your vocabulary. Your competency, English competency, is what IELTS is testing at the end of the day. Your ability to comprehend English, okay? And while you read it, that is what they are testing. So the more you can improve your vocabulary, and like I said yesterday, it's not about knowing big grammars, not at all. It's just you being able, take for instance, a lot, oh, I should have given us such an example. If if they said that, like in a true false not given, they mentioned that okay, let's say okay, the number of, let's say the quantity or the number of money in my account, let's just say okay, the money in my account is, let's say 5,001, okay, let's just say 5,013, okay, 5,013. Now, and in the question, they are asking you that what I have is about 5,013. So about there is very simple, is a very simple word. But because it is above 513, somebody might think that about is only used for things that are below. So I'm just stating that as an example. So it's not big grammars, it's just you being able to understand English. So, and that is why the tips and tricks you've heard over time have not worked. So you need to put in energy into how to improve your vocabulary. So these are the question types. So I have grouped them into 5. So headings or titles. So matching headings, choosing a title. So that is one. Another one is finding paragraph information. Okay. So finding paragraph information, under here, you might be asked to match paragraph information. You might be asked to categorize specific information given or match sentences. What I need to let you know, both of them do not come in order. Okay, answers are not in order. Okay, when it comes to these two first types I mentioned, which are in pink background there. Why the others, completion, which some people call gap fill, yes, no, not given, MCQs, the questions and the answer are in the same order. Okay, they appear as they appear in the text. So these are interesting. That is one of the tips you need to know. Okay, so you can always come back, pause and review, screenshot these for your use. So how do you confidently answer the questions? So I'm going to first talk about the basic examination techniques, because I want to dwell so much on our practice and you looking at how we arrive at the answers, okay, every time you approach IELTS. That is my goal today, okay? So, but first of all, the basic examination technique, if we are under an examination condition, there is no point, you need to take note of this point. There is no need for you to read or skim the passage first? I don't know what people have told you before, but this is a good way for you to quickly, at least for you to manage your time, okay, and attempt more questions within that time limit, okay? So there is no point for any of the question type that I've shown to you. There is no need for you to read or skim the passage first when you have the passage, because what you want to do is not to, your aim is not to understand that passage. Your aim is to answer the question. So for a general understanding of what the passage is all about, the title alone is enough. Now, you might read or skim, but I'm telling you that you could save those 2-3 minutes. Okay, you can keep that in your pocket, all right? Now, and just looking at the title alone should be enough. So if you're not reading the whole passage first, then you've got to go to the question first. All right. So you look at the question. The starting point is from question number 1. Okay. So you look at the question. After looking at the title, you go right away to the questions. It's always a good idea for you to choose to go through the whole questions. So if a passage, usually a passage will have 13 questions under it. So I advise that you read through the whole 13 questions if you want to. Or if you don't want to read the whole 13 questions, you can simply read, let's say under the 13 questions, you have MCQ, true, false, not given under it. You want to read at least minimum of the questions under that first question type. All right, so the starting point is the question number 1. Now you look at the keywords in the questions, okay, and bear them in and keep them in your mind. Also, you need to paraphrase those words in your mind, okay? So in case you come across the synonyms or something that look like it, you'll be able to get them. So keywords that you can always scan for are date, names, or numbers, okay? Meanwhile, you need the other keywords in the question, okay? They give the question away. They show you where the part of the text that is related to the question. Now, once you get the keywords, you underline them, then you look for where they are in the question, and you closely read around that keyword. All right. So these are things you do under examination condition. Now, when you, as much as you can, you need to choose an answer or possible answers if you are in doubt as you approach that question. Okay. So choose an answer, or if you're in that, you can even choose more than one answer, or just asterisk it and you go on. Why do I suggest that to you? This is because you need to attempt all the questions. So you don't spend 5 minutes on one question. In fact, if that question is difficult for you, that doesn't mean that should not make you lose on others which might not be as difficult as that one. So choose an answer, asterisk it, and move ahead. So repeat this process until you reach the last question. Always attempt all questions. All right. So, and at the end of the day, give yourself a time in order for you to review your answers, especially those you were not clear about. So now, this is one thing people don't understand. They waste time on one question. They waste time on reading the question, the passage first. So I'm just giving you tips on how to save that time. All right. So I will still be flashing this particular slide as I move on to talk about each question type. Now, let's talk about, this is when I sent out that people should let me know which question type is the most difficult or most dreadful. A lot of people have said it is how to answer matching headings. And that is why I'm starting with how to answer matching headings. All right. So, okay. Now, this should be the first slide. Now, when you were given a matching heading question, imagine I'm sure you have treated those questions before under Cambridge IELTS. Okay. Now, when you have a matching heading question, you remember that the list of headings come first, all right? Now, the aim is for you to identify the main idea in the paragraph. In English language, a paragraph is telling you about an idea, okay? So not two, not three, just an idea. So you need to understand, isolate that main idea, and usually that will be that is the topic sentence, and that will be your answer, all right? Because if I want to talk about an idea in a paragraph, then that main idea, which I have supported with every other word, should be the topic center, should be the title you would give the paragraph. I hope you understand that. So you need to master your speed, comprehension. You see vocabulary coming in, and you are able to summarize information that you've been given. So now, I advise people to treat this question first. It comes first if it's going to show up in that article or text before you. It's advisable for you to treat the question first. Okay, I just want to make sure that you can hear me. It comes first. All right. So the reason is because for you to arrive at the answer to your matching headings, you would usually have to read more than you would for other question types. So, and by attempting matching heading question first, you would have had a lot of understanding on the paragraph and subsequently the whole passage. Okay, so this is why we don't advise you to skim or read the text in the first place, because that is you are looking for something specific, and why don't you just go ahead and look for it? And if you are in doubt, I'm going to prove that to you as I show you some cards tonight. Okay, I hope I've been able to convince you to treat this question first. Now, you need to avoid looking at the given headings first. Now, do resist the temptation of looking at the headings first. It comes first, but assume that they don't exist, okay? And go to your paragraph A or B or whatever you have to start from after looking at the title, okay? So now you read and try to sum up the meaning of that paragraph to you. You can summarize it in one word. You can summarize it in two phrases or more. You can summarize it in one sentence. You can summarize it in more than a sentence. Okay? So summarize what you had. And then after you have made up your mind that this is what this passage is talking about, you are less likely going to be confused when you then go ahead to look at the list of headings. Okay? So don't forget, you have summarized it in your mind. That's the title you think it is. Then you now go and look at the best match for what you've written down, what you think it is. So you are working from what you think it is to the list of answers that has been given. You are not looking at their own answers to guess what your own will be. Now, you don't have to waste time on one question. So it's okay for you to choose more than one answer, or you are not even sure, just asterisk it, like I said, but just remember to review the question later. All right, so it's possible for you to think, okay, paragraph B is so, paragraph, and then as you go ahead, some of them will be clear straight away, and then don't forget that you cannot choose an heading more than once. So that means you have to make up your mind which one is the best fit for that heading. All right. So let me go back to, so in continuation, you don't have to read everything. Just focus on key sentences. So I'm going to show you how to focus on key sentence even while you are looking for your title. Okay. So I also have a video on how to understand IELTS passages quickly, which I did some months ago. So you need to check that out. It's talked about topic sentences a lot. Now, I'm going to tell you about signposts and subtopics as we move on. You need to watch out for them. Signposts are things a writer uses to suggest what is coming next. Okay, so in a paragraph, at the end of the paragraph, usually it will tell you, it will introduce what is next to come. And subtopics are simply the other ideas that were used to support the main idea. As you know, when you are writing for your IELTS writing, you have your topic sentence and then you have to elaborate or discuss it extensively. So every other thing you write after your topic sentence are subtopics. So a lot of time candidates think those subtopics are the answer. So an IELTS is smart, they are going to put something like that to in one of the list of headings. Now, like I said, it's okay for you to speculate some answers right from how you look at it. You just quickly choose them. But a lot of time, it's not because matching headings is difficult. People just panic at the sight of that question type. So do not panic. And like I said yesterday, you need to have your own proving strategies. Identify what works best for you. For instance, you will notice that I've not talked about that. What people generally say that matching headings, the topic sentence is usually in the first sentence or last sentence. Sorry, I'm dry. Let me just drink water. So I've not mentioned the fact that topic sentence usually come, which we suggest the heading anyway, usually come in the first or last sentence. But it doesn't happen all the time. So if that is your only trick, how are you going to find it if it doesn't happen? So you need a total understanding of how to approach this question type. All right. So I need you to look at your screen. I'm going to give you just a minute for you to arrive at your own answer for this question before you. Just put your answer in I'm going to start stop watch now. I'm giving you 1 minute and that has started already. Just put your answer in the live chat. Just say Roman numeral 1, 2, 3, 4, or what have you. Your time already started. So I will be using this example to tell you how to answer matching headings. Apart from the tips I already gave. I'll be waiting for your answers. Okay, the time is up. Let me see what we've got. Yeah. Okay. So sorry, I've actually been looking at a different chart entirely. So I can see a lot of people have chosen 8. Okay. All right. So, which is fantastic, fantastic. That's brilliant. Now, if you have a different opinion, you can just post that as well. So I've taken my time because that's the first question, okay? Now, how did you, so let us run through this approach again, okay? So this approach again. So you need to make up your mind on what the question, what you think the heading would be, okay? Yeah. So let's see what you think the heading is for this question. So it says that this gentleman compares a puzzle to a combination log. There are about different factors, and all of them need to be present before revolution can happen. So right from that, you already think this is a topic sentence, different different factors necessary for revolution to happen. All right. Now, if you look at, so I'm trying to analyze the sentences for you now. So if you look at the next sentence, it's just like an example. So it's stating all those factors. So if I were to be in an exam conditions, by the time I see for industry to take off, there needs to be, I'll move on. I won't read that sentence again. Okay? Because those are examples. Matching your title, the main idea cannot be an example. Okay? Now, if you now come to, let me pick my pen. So, while this was the case for England, okay, so saying that England had all the factors, okay. Now, look at this again. All these factors must have been necessary, blah, blah, blah. And don't forget, they talk about different countries. So, after all, Holland had everything. Most historians, now look at this part. Most historians are convinced that there are two missing factors that you need to open the door. Now, it's so nice that none of you chose this question, this topic. Let's look for it. Let's look. Yeah, something like this. Two keys, because they mentioned. So if you are the type that believe that it comes in the first line, of course, this is that's a topic sentence, okay. But if you look at this, it says most historians are convinced that there are one or two missing factors that you need to open the lock. So you are smart not to take this answer, okay. A lot of candidates will choose this answer because they have seen these two things. But I'm just trying to let you know that this last phrase, this last statement here is a signpost, just introducing signpost to you. Okay. Signpost cannot be your topic sentence. The topic sentence is this, and that is the answer to this question. So, which led to conditions required for industrialization. Okay, so if you look at every other thing, I had in mind uh, conditions that you need to have met in order for revolution to happen. If you look at every other thing here, none of them look like what I had in mind, and this is the answer. Okay, good. Everyone has done well. Everyone has done well. So now, let's move on. So the next one, so this is just to tell you, showing you what that paragraph talked about. So the paragraph talked about factors needed for industrialization, which is a topic sentence. Talked about Britain met all of those factors, while some countries met just some of them, okay? In summary, when they talk about the two factors, for you to open the lock, you need to find the missing factors, okay? Now, the main idea here, although every one of us got it correctly, so the main idea in that paragraph is this big circle. Factors needed for industrialization, this red circle. Now, for him to explain, to further give us more information about this, he has to talk about Britain met, he gave some examples of those factors, then he talked about Britain met all those factors, and that is why industrialization happened. Then that is the second circle, that is a subtopic, okay? And the missing factors, he's still talking about the factors you need for industrialization, all right? It's also a subtopic to this one. I need you to take note of that because I will not be doing this analysis for the rest of the questions. All right. So what I'm saying is that you can use this one and this one to explain this main, which is the main idea, which is the topic sentence. So the B circle is what you are looking for, is the main idea that you want to use to form your heading. Okay, so let's move on. I'm going to show you now. You remember that you didn't see even the topic of this question, okay, of this text. You only saw the paragraph and you were able to get it correctly. So why do you think under an examination or in another instance, you need to read the whole passage before you arrive at your question or at your answer? Okay, I hope I'm trying to convince you here. So you didn't see all those things. You didn't see the whole passage. You saw this paragraph only and you were able to get it correct. All right, so I'm going to show you another one. So I've explained a lot. So you have 1 minute to give me the answer to this one too. Waiting for your answer. Okay, time up. I don't know what you're doing. So please, because we'll have multiple questions, okay? So state paragraph, just say C, and then you put your answer there, okay? So we don't get confused. So this is quite easy because I have already explained, what will even lead you to the answer initially. So now don't forget paragraph B was talking about the factors needed for revolution to happen. So I specifically chose the same text to explain these things to you, okay? So now, you remember that last phrase, the two missing factors and all that. So this, because the writer wanted to change what he wanted to discuss, so he came here, he talked about that, and the missing factor he proposes had to be found in almost every cupboard. So this same as though he's talking about the missing factor are these in this paragraph. So I can see someone says 6, someone says 7. Yeah, okay. So let's form the idea in our mind. Okay. Now, the missing factor it proposes are to be found in almost every kitchen cupboard. Tea and beer, two of the nation's favorite drink, fueled the revolution. So interestingly, the topic sentence was also mentioned in the first, what's it called there? In the first statement here. Tea and beer, two of the nations. So two factors, which are tea and beer, fueled revolution. So the missing factors, which are two and which are tea and beer, fueled revolution. So it's like something that fueled Britain's revolution. Okay, so if you read through, just so that you have understanding now, if you look at the next sentence, the antiseptic properties of tannin, so they have started talking about tea now. Okay, they talked about tea to this juncture and then talked about beer again. The writer is just trying to let you know why he thinks that is the issue. Okay, explaining the topic sentence. Okay, so plus the fact that, so if you look at them, every other thing there, they are just supporting the idea that this paragraph is all about two keys to Britain's industrial revolution. Now, people chose 6. Okay, let's look at why. Yeah, so changes in drinking habits. So there was no mention of habits. If you were to think through so if you look at these questions, the list of headings first, you might be forced to be thinking as though, okay, because they mentioned tea, because they mentioned it must have been 6. No, all right. Form the idea in your own mind and then look for what match your idea. Okay, I think I've overemphasized that point. So let's go to the next one. So very quickly, just give me your answer quickly, please, because of time. Quickly, please, because of time. Then we can talk about other things. And then as I finish, as you drop the answer to this one, because this is the third example, this will be the last. I will have to move on to another question type. So if you have any question, if anything is not clear from what I've explained, or you think it's just easy because of we are following you, just apply the same principle and you'll be surprised how well you can get all the answers. All right. So what that person who chose 6 would have done is to, for instance, if you think it is 6 or 7, choose 6 or 7 and move on. So someone is saying the screen is blurred, so you have to increase the quality of your video from your own end. Okay, increase the quality. Look at YouTube setting and go to and increase the quality. You can choose 720 or 480 at the minute. All right. So time up, time up, time up, everybody. So now, I think I get you at this time. People are saying it is 7. Let's see. People are thinking it is 7. What is 7? 7 is conditions required or 2 keys to Britain industrialization. People are saying 7. Are you responding to the right question? So paragraph E, let's look at it together. The population burst seemed to happen at just the right time to provide labor. So they're talking about labor. When you start moving towards an industrial revolution, so people live close. This is close to each other. Now, so what he has said here, take note. Then he now said, but in order to introduce something, he's trying to put out a point. But then you get this because people live close to each other, particularly because of so. All right. So now, the gentleman again deduced that whatever the British were drinking must have been important in regulating disease. So tea and beer that they were drinking, regulating beer. You can see lots of ideas here, okay? When revolution happened, industrialization happened, people live together, close to each other. This can lead to disease. You can see what he's trying to say. However, in Britain, um, records revealed that there was a change in incidence of waterborne disease at this time when people were drinking tea, okay, tea and beer. So he says we drank beer. So look at this. So I'm just going to come here. But in the late century, there was a tax, blah, blah, blah. So you can see that this one is not straightforward. So what the writer has done is to move his topic sentence to, to the middle, okay, just at the right time to provide labor for industrial revolution. Okay, that means they have talked about population burst. Now look at paragraph. I'm showing you paragraph. We treated paragraph C. Okay. Now I deliberately move on to paragraph D, paragraph E. Okay. Now this population burst, meaning that they have talked about that previously, seem to happen just at the right time. Seem to have happened just at the right time. Let me choose. Okay, seem to have happened just at the right time. Okay, so this is referring to something they already talked about. Okay, so this is referring to something they already talked about previously. Okay, now when you start moving, people get disease and all that. But then you get disease, particularly from human waste. Some digging around in historical record reveal that there was a change in the incidence of waterborne disease at that time, especially dysentery. McFarlane deduced that whatever the British were drinking must have been important in regulating disease. He says, we drank beer. For a long time, the English were protected by the strong antibacterial agents in herbs, which were added to help preserve the beer. But in late 17th century, a tax was introduced on malt, the basic ingredient of beer. They poured on to water and gin, and in the 1720s, the mortality rate began to rise again. Then it suddenly dropped again. What caused this? Okay, so now a lot of you have chosen one, right? So the search for the reasons for an increase in population. Okay, now if you look at what caused this, is not about the increase in population, is about what? The mortality. Okay, so now if you don't understand what this passage, paragraph is talking about, and you've read just number one, sentence one, and you've read sentence, what was it? The last sentence, you will think the search for reasons for an increase in population. Okay, but if you look at it, the poor turned to water and gin in the 1720s. So they are talking about something more crucial, which is about the changes in drinking habits in Britain. So Britain changed their drinking habits, and how you can use to verify is that what causes is not about what? It's not about the increase in population. So this one is one that is confusing, but I hope I have been able to explain that to you. All right. So now, using this last example, you can see that it seems quite confusing, but the understanding of this thing can help you. All right. Now, but importantly, assuming you have read paragraph D, okay, assuming you have read paragraph D, you would have known that paragraph D talked about a population burst or what have you, okay, and probably they were looking for a reason for that. But what this writer is talking about at this juncture is that something happened that led to a problem. Okay, so I will leave that as it is. And that will bring us to the end of matching paragraph. So don't forget, what we've talked about is that avoid looking at the given headings first. Try to sum up what they have given you. So it takes beyond looking at just the first and the last, okay? So you need to look at it carefully. All right. Any question for me before I move on to okay, any question for me? Okay, now I will come back if we have time to address. Oh, time is nearly gone. So let's go to how to answer true, false, not given. Okay, so it's the same thing. You use the same principle as true, false, not for true, false, not given, and yes, no, not given. The only difference is that yes, no, not given is all about ideas of the writer, while true, false, not given is about information that has been given. Okay. So now, no point reading, you already know this. I'll go straight away to true, false, not given. Now, your aim is to classify the information they have given you, that information which is a statement of fact under true, false, not given, as whether it is correct, incorrect, or not given. So it's always a good practice to skim through all the questions because the answer come in order, okay? The answer come in order. So it's important for you to read through. So understand the whole statement, not just look for synonyms and antonyms, and use the keyword to find the location of the related fact, okay? Now, watch out for uncertainty, word of uncertainty, okay, and qualifying words. I will dwell more on qualifying words. For instance, qualifying words like majorly, let's say majority of pilots are drunkards. And just no, don't take my word for it. Majority of pilots are drunkards. It's not the same thing as saying that pilots are drunkards. So because pilots are drunkards mean all pilots are drunkards. But in this case, it says majority. So it's the same thing as saying many. A huge number of pilots are, you understand. So you need to watch out for qualifying words. Remember, the question followed the same order. So once you find the answer to question number one, it will lead you to the answer to question number two, number three, number four. And you need to pay attention to this closely, as my example will prove to you all these points I've mentioned. So these are common pitfalls. Candidates think it is true because the statement is quite similar. No, you look at the general meaning of that statement. Candidates think it is false, but the answer is actually not given. Candidates rationalize beyond the information given. Now, very importantly, do not assume, even if you were given a topic you know so well, do not assume, okay? In a lot of people also, even after getting the answer correctly, at the end of the day, when writing their answer, they will then go to writing yes, no, not given instead of true, false, not given. Okay, or the other way around. They write yes, they write true, false, not given instead of yes, no, not given. Please be careful. I talked about this when I was talking about how to answer true, false, not given in one of my videos. Now, this is a question for you. Okay, what do you think the answer is? What do you think the answer is? Is this true, false, or not given? So I'm giving you a question now, okay? I'm giving you a question now, okay? Now, this is a paragraph D that I left out, okay, in my previous. So people that are asking me, what do you think the answer is and all that, this might throw light when once you read it, but let's just focus on what the answer so for this question is. So you have 1 minute to quickly give me the answer. Is this true, false, or not given? After 1740, there was a reduction in population in Britain. So after 1740, there was a reduction in population in Britain. 1 minute. Okay, someone said true. Let me also look at it. So after 1740, there was a reduction in population in Britain. Okay. Yeah, false is now leading. Okay, now your time is up. I will explain to you. Now, in true false not given, don't forget, you need your first assignment is to isolate where the question was taken from. So usually they will take a portion, a statement in the passage, a given fact, and now twist it whether to be correct, incorrect, or not given. Well, I'm quite surprised someone is saying not given. So if you look at what I've highlighted, it says that now McFarlane was wondering what led to population industrial revolution. Okay, historians highlighted one interesting factor. Okay, that required explanation. So between 1650 and 1740, the population in Britain was static. So there was no population growth or decline. Between 1650 and 1740, no population growth or decline. Now you need to pay attention to qualifying words here. It says after. So now this is different from if the question says in 1740 or before 1740. You have to understand the whole meaning of the question before you. Okay, so after 1740, so that means after all these things, that is what we are looking for. Look at how the writer introduced it. He didn't mention anything after, but he said, but then there was a burst in population growth. Okay, so following that static of it being remaining the same, there was a burst in population growth. Okay, that is what that place means. So what we have, so you have to look at the question. After 1740, there was a reduction in population in Britain. Is that true? It will be true. So one thing you can do is to ask yourself, it will be true if after 1740 there was a reduction in population in Britain. But what we know is that a burst means there was an increase. Okay? So in the text, it said there was an increase in population growth. There was an increase. That's the growth already. That's tautology. Okay, so that's what the text says there was an increase in population. All right, that's what the text says. The question says there was a reduction in population. That is false. So it will be false if after 1740 there was an increase in population in Britain. It will be not given if we cannot say whether there was a population decline or increment in Britain after 1740. That is how you arrive at your. But we have the answer here. We have the text here. It says, but then there was a burst in population growth. If you read on, it will tell you that yes, it is after 1740. And don't forget, they are all talking about population growth or something. Okay. All right. So for those who were asking about, so the answer is false. Okay. The answer is false. Okay. So for those who were asking about the question, the answer to the matching headings. So if you were to give this paragraph D a heading, what would you have given it? You understand? Okay. So That is, you can go back to the video and look at it. I will move on to the next slide. So the answer is false for example 2 here. Now, I'm going to go ahead to give you the answer to this one, should I? No. You need to attempt that same paragraph E that we saw. Is this true, false, or not given? I'm using my approach now. Don't just give me your answer based on how you used to answer true, false, not given. But look at what I've talked about. People in Britain used to make beer at home. It will be true if people in Britain used to make beer at home. It will be false if people in Britain used to make beer somewhere else, or people in Britain, used to make beer somewhere else. It will also be false if people in Britain are now making beer at home, because used to is telling you about the past. Okay, so that's something you want to take note of too. And then this is a key thing at home, and then the people, the British. Okay, you can see how they can talk about that. All right. I'm waiting for your answer. Okay, someone said false, I'm not sure. Okay, so it's always good for you to say E, just say E not given. That would be clear enough. Or okay, so let me answer this for you. This question is tricky, but if you have all the questions before you, it will make it easy for you. Okay, now, and I would do as though you were answering the question in an examination. Now, people in Britain used to make beer at home. Don't forget, it will be true if there was a mention of where they make beer and if it is at home. And then you look at probably the present or past tense too. But what do we have in the text? McFarlane deduced that whatever the British were drinking must have been important. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that there was no mention of where we drank beer. That's all we know. They didn't mention where they made their beer. Okay, they drank, whether they buy it or they didn't, or they make it at home. So the information we have here is not given. Okay, and I will explain further. We drank beer. They didn't give us where they make the beer. Okay, that information is not given. Now, the next question I'm going to ask you, you are going to get this correctly. Then I will come back to explain this not given clearly for you. Okay, so let's go to the next question. Let's go to the next question, then I'll come back to that. Okay, so now the tax on malt indirectly caused a rise in the death rate. Now, I'll quickly do that because it's quite easy. You are going to get it right. Now, but in the 17th century, a tax was introduced on malt, the basic ingredient of beer. Now, the pour turned to water and gin. So someone was asking about a change in habit. Was there a change in the habit of whatever in paragraph E? You can see the pour turned to water and gin. Okay, that is a change in habit. Okay, now the mortality rate began to rise again. But what are we looking for? A tax, the tax on malt. Did it indirectly cause a rise in the death rate? So death rate here is the mortality. So death rate rose, so mortality increased. Okay, so those are the grammar, those are the vocabulary we are talking about. All right. So the tax. An introduction of the tax led to increase in the debt rate indirectly. That is what we have in the passage. So the answer is true. The answer is true. Okay. Now, but let's look at let's go back to paragraph E. What I want to explain to you is that now, because the answer comes in order, you have found the answer to the next question here, okay? And then they mention with rank pair. That means the answer to the previous question must have come before here, okay? So that will help you to know that, okay, yeah, the answer to the next question is there. So what if they didn't mention where they make the beer, then it is not given. Okay, so don't waste your time looking for a question that is not given. Okay, so in as much as you know it comes in order, you find the previous one, you find the next one, then you can make up your mind. All right, thank you so much. So I've used that to explain truth was not given. Okay, okay. Now, because of our time, I will quickly go on very quickly to how to answer multiple choice questions. And unfortunately, this will be the end. I have paragraph information, but we can't go there. I'm also going to work. Okay, it's just a sacrifice. I'm going to work at 6:30 UK time, which is around 7:30. I must get to work 7:30 Nigerian time, and what have you. Okay, so how to answer multiple choice questions. So don't forget these basic exam techniques. It comes handy when you are talking about multiple choice questions. Okay, so no point reading, skimming the passage first. Go straight to question number one. Bear in mind that the words are going to be paraphrased. You are searching for keywords, and the best ones to search for are dates, names, numbers, if at all it has in the question. Okay. All right. So choose the answer that you think is near to the answer, okay, and move on. Make sure you get to the end of the test. Now, multiple choice questions. Choose the most appropriate answer in relation to the text. The question, so that's what you have. The key idea is that you have a question and every other thing doesn't matter. Is the question and the text, okay? So consider other three options as distraction. So we talked about that. Underline the keywords and use it. So majorly, you will have two related, if there are four options, you will have two related, very closely related answers, options. Okay, usually two are not that good, and two will be very close. Will look like the answer. Don't forget again, the answer, the question comes in order, and usually they even simplify MCQ for you. They will say in paragraph so what is this? Okay, so let's go to the question. Sorry, this is not as clear as the others. All right. So I have underlined what will lead to your answer for this example only. Okay, so in the second paragraph, so and that is a paragraph. Okay, you can see nothing confusing at all. The mentioned second paragraph, so I brought out the second paragraph. The writer refers to a shape. So the writer refers to a shape matching text in order to illustrate. So what was the writer trying to illustrate when he mentioned a shape matching text? So we are in the second paragraph. We need to look for a shape matching text and what was the writer trying to illustrate. Also here, you can treat it as you need to look for that part of the question, okay, in the text. Form your own answer, then come and use that answer to knock out those who doesn't tally with your answer. Okay, so in this case, the shape matching test, let's see, Could the same approach also shed light on abstract 28th century pieces from Mondrian? I'm awaiting your answer if you have one. I'm just okay, I'll read quietly. Let me just await your answer to this. So just say 27, A, B, C, or D. Let me wait for your answer. Okay, so there is B, there is C. Okay, thank you. I'm just going to quickly answer that. Yeah. Okay, now, so I've highlighted the things you need here. So the shape matching test. So they said, could the same approach also shed light on abstract 20th century pieces from modern geometric blocks? So it's just a lot of grammar to confuse you, okay? So to Pollock, simile, haphazard, arrangement of splash paint on canvas, septic. So let's look for where really looks like it. So we certainly do have an inclination to follow the crowd, all right? So when asked to make simple perceptual decisions such as matching a shape, so matching a shape has been made shape matching test, okay, in the question. So that is a place that relate to the question. So now we are looking for what was the writer trying to illustrate by mentioning this shape matching test? So for example, people often choose a blah, blah, blah. It is easy to imagine that this mentality would have will have even more impact on a body concept like art appreciation. Now, if you look at what he was talking about, he's actually talking about illustrating that this could make people have inclination to follow the crowd. So we have inclination to follow the crowd. So he now gave an example of this shape matching test. So he was trying to illustrate that people tend to follow the crowd. That is what we have in the text. All these ones are just distractions, okay? Or you are smarter than that. And the people who chose C are correct. So inclination is tendency here. To be influenced by others is following the crowd. Okay. So if you look at this, people often choose a definitely wrong answer if they see others doing the same. Okay. A tendency to follow the crowd. All right. So I'll move on to the next question. So 28. So don't forget how we arrive at that question. We look at the main, what look like it. I mean, the portion of the text that talk about it. We use the keyword shape matching test to look for that thing. And we read around the shape matching test, okay? And then we form our own idea, then went back to look at all the options that we have. So you would likely make mistake if you are working from all the options that you have to your answer. So form your idea, then go and look at the options, okay, and use it to cross out using tick or cross. You say, okay, this cannot be it, this cannot be it. So we'll use tick and cross here just so that you're aware of that principle. Okay, so Angelina Dolan's findings indicate that. So the keywords here are this name. So you can quickly find the name. So, and that's the name here. It cannot change. So is our findings. Findings is like research, what she found out. Okay, indicate that people. So now speaking about people, what did our findings or our research said? So we've seen her name. Responded to this debate. Okay, then they had to judge which they preferred. So don't forget, they've talked about people now. Okay, they started talking about people to judge. Okay, um, okay. So it seems I'm already awaiting your answer. It seems that the viewers can sense the artist's vision in painting, even if they can't explain why. So don't forget what was our findings. So let me look for our findings. So volunteers generally preferred, that's what she found out, even when they believe it was by an animal or child. So in summary, it seems that the viewer can sense the artist's vision in painting, even if they can't explain why. So you now have it in mind that, okay, our findings is that people people prefer the work of renowned artists. Okay, all right, that's one. Even when they believe it was by an animal or child. So, and it seems that people that has been paraphrased as viewers can sense, can see or perceive what the artist is trying to say, even when they cannot explain why. So that is what you have in mind. You will then go here. Um, you then go here. Mostly favor works of art which they know well. Now, look at this. Which they know well is not the same thing as renowned artist. Okay, so people will quickly say that, but I've not said it is not the answer, but it is not the same thing. Mostly, if you know something well, that means you have seen that work of art before, or you have seen something that look like it. It's different from a work from renowned artists. Okay, so you're looking for the general meaning, not synonyms, not something that look like it. Okay, people hold fixed ideas about what makes a good work. So they didn't talk about people having fixed ideas. So people, you remember, let's see, there was not just a point where they mentioned that. So, okay, people don't have fixed ideas. Okay, so people are often misled by their initial expectation, nothing like an expectation. What she said is that even when they believe, so they believe it was from a child, but at the end of the day, they are able to perceive what they think the writer is thinking about. So let's look at D. Have the ability, look at this ability, viewers can, that's the ability, perceive, can sense, okay, the intention, the artist's vision. You can see in painting, you can see. So if you look at it, it looks like this or this. But like I said, this is not the same thing. So the answer is option D. Okay. So that is how you use tick and cross. Okay. Answer to 28 is option D. All right. So I'm sure you have learned how to do that. And because of our time, lastly, so if you have questions, drop it. Okay. Um, so lastly, what do the experiment described in the fifth paragraph suggest about paintings of Mondrian? So this is the name of the person. that you can quickly, okay, this is an experiment. What do the experiment? So you are looking for a research. Fifth paragraph is already before you. Suggest about the paintings of Mondrian. So now, artist. So we have Mondrian already. This is his work, exclusively of horizontal and vertical lines. So I'm waiting for your answer. Just say 30 is so. Okay, so don't let me start reading now so you can give me your answer. Oh, it looks so dry. Okay, waiting for answer to question 30. Okay, answers are started coming in. 30 is A. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so let me quickly attempt that. So while you do yours. So now, how to answer this question? We talked about experiment, that's a research, that's a study. Suggest, opined, that's an opinion. That, okay, sorry. Suggest about the paintings of Mondrian. So we have Mondrian, we have this. What does the painting suggest? Okay, so now Mondrian, whose painting? So the painting of Mondrian, they are not telling us what it suggests yet. It consists exclusively. So it doesn't make sense to what I want to answer. So, but then that work are deceptively simple. They are simple, but so you have to take note since there is something but again, okay, a contrasting statement is coming in. But eye tracking studies, now look at the studies we are looking for. So apart from the fact that they are simple, the study that makes that we are looking for, don't forget the experiment is the major thing. The study confirms that they are meticulously composed. So if you understand, the study suggests that Mondrian's work of art are meticulously composed. That it takes a lot of effort to do or lots of details, despite the fact that they are simple. Simple. So that is what I believe the answer is from my understanding of the question. So let's look at it. They are more carefully put together. More carefully is the same thing as meticulous, okay, put together than they appear. Though they appear simple, so likely this is the answer. But let's cross out or tick which one would be the answer. So they can be interpreted in a number of different ways. No. Now, don't forget that even if they mention any of these options, if they mention them in the along the line in the paragraph, what we are looking for is what the experiments of this gentleman suggest. Okay, okay. All right. So they challenge our assumptions about shape and color. They are easier to appreciate. Now look at this, easier to appreciate than many other abstract work. So I close my mind against any other thing. You can see I didn't even read on any longer because I already find what I'm looking for. They are meticulously composed. Takes a lot of details and lots of time to put them together, giving it to paragraph to option A. So the answer to 30 is A. So tick and cross, find out your answer. I'm sure you have you benefited from this class. So yeah, before I address the lingering questions on why the answer to matching headings paragraph E was the correct answer, okay, I'll try to do that. Okay, so give me any other question in that live chat. But I want to tell you, no, I'm not treating this today. Thank you so much for listening. Feel free to subscribe to my channel, which just click the subscribe button. There's my picture that should be showing on your screen there. Just if you think you've enjoyed the class, just subscribe straight away and also click on the notification button. Okay, all right. And you can feel free to follow me on Facebook. My Facebook page is Peter Olubayo. My general Facebook profile is my surname Olubayo Demiga Peter. That's full. Okay, I have Twitter account, Instagram, but that's not the case for now. You can message me directly on that number showing on your screen. And then I want to give you an opportunity to know more about Unified IELTS Academy also. So now don't look at this fee. This fee is quite ridiculous for Nigerians, okay? For, let me say, for what we give in this institution, what we give, the value we give is far, far, far beyond this fee, okay? And for international payment, £15 worth of £15, which even if we have people joining from other places, I'm happy to do something about the fee. But for Nigerians, this is just so low. It's just for the value. We have a lot of our students can tell you that this is just very low. So don't look at that fee. This is value part, okay? And as you can see, even the the place you are paying to is not me. So this is an institution I believe in so much. I also teach. So for those of you who want me to be involved in your teaching, I teach here, yeah, every week also. So feel free to register with the Unified IELTS Academy. All right. Thank you so much for joining this webinar. I'm sure it has in a way helped you. Feel free to look back on the questions. Okay. Feel free to look at this video, what I've discussed with you, and God bless. So I know a lot of people there were a lot of discussions happening about that matching headings. So I'll just spend 2 minutes to explain what I meant the other time. Now, so what gave the answer away was this. So this, I need to let you know. So it's part of the vocabulary. You can see when I talked about vocabulary, it's not something big. This is something you use to reference what they've talked about before. Okay, this population burst, and if you look at paragraph D, you see they talked about population burst. So this paragraph E is not about population burst. Okay, it's not about population burst. All right. So this population burst, this is referencing what has already been discussed, not what is going to happen. All right. So take note of that. Go through the whole thing again, and you will be able to agree with me that our choice is the right thing for that. Okay, thank you so much. Feel free to message me if you want to, and please, and please, and please, we need to get this message out to people. Share with friends and family. Let them subscribe to this channel. Let's change the narrative of people fearing IELTS. And, yeah, a lot of people just thinking of, I have to take IELTS. A lot of people linger at that point, thinking about failure only. IELTS is not as hard as you have thought or whatever anybody has told you. You can go into